Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Jacob Weil here, and welcome to a titanic installment of MonsterVerse Debates. In celebration of the recent monster match that is Godzilla vs. Kong, we here have decided to dedicate tonight's show to these two titans of theater with these following topics. What is the best Kong film besides the original? Which kaiju should Godzilla fight next? And the biggest highlight of Godzilla vs. Kong. And a slew of monstrous speedround questions. Now, without further ado, let's take a trip to Monster Island, take a scenic tour of Tokyo, and gear up for a massive confrontation as we step into the arena. In this corner, we have our own man live from Skull Island, ready to go ape on his opponent. It's Tiki!
SKULL Island!
And in the opposing corner, one half of the Mothra twins, who debate so fiercely he shoots his atomic breath. So hail to the king, baby! It's newcomer Conner Nielson! and joining me on tonight's tribunal of judges, it's Blue Dragon 5 and Mickey Fan.
Hello.
How is everyone this fine evening?
I'm ready to kick some giant radioactive ass, Jacob.
Connor?
I am going to destroy all competition. I am Mecha Godzilla circa 1974 when he whips Anguirus and then destroys an atomic
God. Well, this boy clearly knows his Godzilla better than I do. That's a good start.
Yeah, that it is. But
you're
armed in the Kong department, though.
Oh, yes, very much so. All right.
But since we have someone new joining us, how about a quick refresher on the rules?
Woo!
We have 3 rounds where our combatants highlight their choices, followed by an opening statement, then go in for an all-out attack. When you hear this sound, that means the round is over.
It's so much more drawn out than R2 is. I love it.
Well, I kind of wanted to make sure it was heard.
Of course.
The judges, myself, Mickey Fan, and Dragon, will each cast a vote on who had the most compelling argument, and the one with the most votes wins the round. After 3 rounds, we will bring out the King Coin.
Oh boy.
In which the players can opt to flip, with heads earning a point and tails losing a point. Also, hidden within the first 5 rounds is a special hidden coin, the Sarazawa Silver Dollar.
Nice. I approve.
Thank Dragon for that.
Yep.
A coin so powerful, it radiates a power not meant for mortal men.
Oh, God.
That was also me.
Yep, that was also Dragon.
Yep. Love it or hate it, that was me.
It fits with the theme.
Yep.
It does. I like it.
Keep in mind, both of these coins are optional.
All right.
And after the main rounds, we will enter a series of speed round questions. The first to 5 points wins the game and can claim the title of King of the Monsters.
Oh boy.
Woohoo! Let's go!
Before we do, let's shout out some of our commenters. Who again, folks, in the comments later on, when we get to the speed round, you can actually ask some questions, and we might use them. And at the very least, you'll be able to call some rounds. That's going to be really exciting. So we have a Jedi Knight, saying hello. We have Atomic Beast, because I'd be shocked if Atomic Beast wasn't
Yeah,
here for
Tom
this of all
Beast is big.
proceedings.
Yeah, he's a very big Godzilla fan. So
kind of an appropriate attendee.
Yeah.
indeed. All right, let's get into it, gentlemen.
Let's figure out who's going first with the randomizer.
All right.
Oh, right, the randomizer. I forgot about the randomizer. All right, let's pull it up.
All right.
Okay.
And now this will determine who goes first, and the order will be remained throughout the remaining 3 rounds.
Looks like I'm going first. All right,
He's
that's
going
okay.
first.
Looks like Kong will be getting the first swings in.
All right.
All right, and that brings us to our very first question. Now, due to the nature of this film, we have decided to honor the history of our 2 titans, which led to the first question. Obviously, the very first Kong question, the first Kong movie is indelible. So obviously that was ruled out when writing this question. So leading to, besides the 1933 original, what is the best film to feature Kong?
All right, my choice is Kong Skull Island, baby.
And mine is the 2005 Peter Jackson remake, King Kong.
All right.
Tiki, we missing something?
Are we? Oh, yes, we are. Here we are. You're right. Uno momento. Do. Banners. There we go.
Now, a refresher. You will each give your opening statement with obviously Tiki going first, and then Conner Nielson. Conner will provide his, and then after that, you go into an all-out monster mash until the big G sounds off, signifying the end of the round, and we will then determine who wins.
All right, sounds good.
Tiki, you're up.
Okay, so Peter Jackson's King Kong, I absolutely respect the hell out of. I really do. I want to just start this debate with, the peaceful, tapping of the gloves, if you will, because Peter Jackson's King Kong does a lot of things right. But I feel like the area that film kind of fails in is the area that Kong Skull Island absolutely excels in, and that's originality. Peter Jackson's King Kong, in its best moments, in its absolute best moments, are basically homages to the original King Kong. I fully admit that movie does a lot of stuff right. I was a big fanboy of it. Go back to our March of Kong podcast. You will know. I am, I was a huge Lord of the Rings fanboy. Going into Peter Jackson's King Kong, I was probably even more of a fanboy of Peter Jackson. But one thing that Kong Skull Island does that I really don't think any other King Kong movie, including the original, has done is put the character into a situation where it's a very thematically rich story with interesting side characters and compelling drama. And that's exactly what I think Kong Skull Island did. I think Kong Skull Island really took the aesthetics of Kong, took the basic framework of Kong, worked it into a Vietnam protest film. And honestly, I'll get into the details as the debate goes on. I'll kind of keep those close to the vest. But I think Kong Skull Island is just an anti-war protest film. In spite of all the other MonsterVerse elements of it. I mean, I think it works really well just on the Vietnam angle. And then when you bring in the actual King Kong himself, I mean, I think he kicks ass. I think he leads to the most memorable set pieces of the movie. I think it's a fully original King Kong film that doesn't rely on the damsel in distress archetype. I think it's basically the original remake of Kong done right with the focus on the Vietnam War. I feel like it's the only MonsterVerse movie that actually has compelling human characters in it. Kong Skull Island for the win for me, baby.
All right. Peter Jackson's King Kong is a very interesting movie on its own. And I think that I cannot talk about any of these Kong movies without first talking about the original. The original Kong is the best King Kong movie. I'll just throw that out there. I don't think any of the other ones, quite frankly, come close. But what I think Peter Jackson is trying to do with this remake is trying to take the identity and the ideas behind the original Kong and just supercharge them, take them to the next furthest step, where it is a very meta film. It is where King Kong has always been a movie about movies. This one is all about the spectacle of film, where the original Kong is about selling you on a premise while you're watching the movie, and then you go on a boat and then travel into a filmmaker's world, and he brings that world back to the masses. We see that again in Peter Jackson's, but instead he is building this film for a. Oh, was that the bell?
No,
No, you're good.
Okay. He is building a film for a new generation of audience that demands better special effects, that demands a bigger spectacle. And he is, instead of trying to top King Kong, he is going to that original stuff and that original material, and with reverence, he is trying to recreate the feeling of watching King Kong in 1933 to watching, it's trying to be to 1933, but in 2005.
Mhm.
And after the big success of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, he could do whatever he wanted. And we have really the big two identities of Peter Jackson, the lover of epic cinema, and the sort of pranksterish devil who loves with glee his exploitation. And he sort of merges the two here, with not just love for the original Kong, but love for all kinds of cinema across all kinds of generations. And what he makes in 2005's King Kong is a thesis that Kong is the definitive American film, because in the narrative of Kong is the narrative of all film. So that is my statement on King Kong.
Okay, nice.
Sorry, I didn't realize my mic was muted.
Uh-huh.
All right. Now we've heard the opening statements. Now it's time to go in for the kill.
All right, Connor. I feel like I'm just as much of a fan of Peter Jackson's King Kong as you are, buddy. But I feel like I have an advantage here because I've spent the past 15 years pointing out this film's flaws. Because this film is great. It's a love letter to Kong. It's a love letter to the 1930s Depression era. It's a love letter to a lot of things. But what it isn't is it definitely isn't original. And it definitely isn't like very consistent in terms of the characters and in terms of the action. So with Peter Jackson's King Kong, I mean, I love it to death. I love it to death, Connor. I really do. I can't emphasize enough how much of a Peter Jackson fanboy I was going into this thing. Like, I want to love this movie with every fiber of my being. But unfortunately, upon a rewatch, I feel like there are some significant faults to the movie. I feel like the Skull Island stuff goes on for entirely too long. I really feel like you don't need the 3 hours. I feel like a lot of the human characters are very superfluous, especially the character of Jimmy, who's just kind of like built up as like, oh, he's twice as wild as all the animals in here, and yet like his plot line just kind of becomes nothing. And I feel like the plot line becoming nothing is pretty much the status quo for like most of the main characters outside of Anne, Jack, and Carl Denham, and weirdly, Tom Hanks' son, weirdly enough, gets an arc outside of the island, which is weird. Kong Skull Island, I feel like the director of Kong Skull Island took a risk and it paid off. he made a movie that he specifically wanted to see. Peter Jackson wanted to appease all the fanboys of the original, and he did that. He did that very well. But I feel like the director of Kong Skull Island took a premise, which is like, what if we were to kind of create a monster movie that laid the groundwork for kind of like telling a parable, almost a fable about the futility of Vietnam. And that's what Kong Skull Island is, and we really get that. I think that Packard and Marlowe are like easily the most three-dimensional, most well-developed characters in the entire MonsterVerse. Like, not even a question. I think their presence alone kind of like elevates Kong Skull Island to be at the very least the best of the recent MonsterVerse movies. Because, unlike all the other MonsterVerse movies, we actually have compelling leads at the heart of these things.
Well, I find it interesting that you're talking about a lack of originality in King Kong 2005, when Jordan Vogt-Roberts, talented young filmmaker, basically said, what if I were to just ape Francis Ford Coppola for 2 hours? In Kong Skull Island, he wants you to know that he has seen Apocalypse Now. And let me just tell you, Mr. Vogt-Roberts, I have also seen Apocalypse Now. Packard, he wants you to know that Samuel L. Jackson can play the Marlon Brando character of Colonel Kurtz, and mixed with Kilgore, played by Robert Duvall. And he does a pretty okay job. The problem, though, is that I don't understand what he's trying to say when it comes to bringing Kong as a sort of anti-war symbol. We see him fight and fight and fight and win, and at the end of it, he gets to enjoy his victory. I don't see how the Monsters War reflects the War of Vietnam and the futility of war. And honestly, the only real anti-war film to ever come out of North America is called Paths of Glory. Because in this, we do see the supremacy of the American military. Even though we were following the loss of Vietnam, and it opens with the ending, with Nixon announcing the end of Vietnam, we still have the soldiers going into Skull Island. And even though we do see that, there's the typical North American, war's kind of bad, but you know what? They're still very brave. They are still very capable of taking down Kong. They are still able to do all of these things. I do think that it does sort of undercut its anti-war message in showing just how capable revenge can be.
Okay. All right, that's a very interesting counterpoints for sure. I will argue that I absolutely think that the movie is it's definitely got its roots in Apocalypse Now, much like Peter Jackson's King Kong has its roots in the 1943 King Kong. And I feel like at the very least, Kong Skull Island isn't trying to be a beat-by-beat recreation of that movie by any means. Peter Jackson's King Kong is like a lovable homage, but it really just kind of comes down to a fan film that's a little bit too ambitious for its own britches. What I like about Kong Skull Island is outside of Godzilla vs. Kong itself, it is the most lean and mean of the monster movies. It doesn't really take up that much of your time. It's like a hair over 2 hours. And are the characters very much one-dimensional in as far as like kind of like illustrating kind of like bullet points as far as like sort of mere reflections of Heart of Darkness characters? Yeah, sure, absolutely, they are. But at least you don't have a character in Kong Skull Island literally reading Heart of Darkness and being like, oh, do you get it? Do you get it? This is the symbolism of the story that we're on right now, Mr. Hayes. Do you get it? I don't know, man. I like I said, I love King Kong 2005. I truly do. I don't want to talk shit about it, but it does have a lot of stuff that you can't inherently talk shit about. I mean, like Jimmy and Mr. Hayes is one of the big things. I don't want to just completely dwell on it, but their storyline is just like absolutely like they get built up and built up and built up over the first act, and then they're just nothing. They're just dropped out of nowhere, and I feel like
Well, I think
at the very least, Kong Skull Island, you know, even though John Goodman kind of gets sidelined after Act 1 or whatever, at the very least, I feel like every character has a point in Kong Skull Island. Whereas with King Kong 2005, I feel like Jackson got a little bit too ambitious, and he kind of got a little bit too like, all right, like people responded super well to the to the ensemble filmmaking of Lord of the Rings. Let's make another ensemble movie. But he just didn't have the interesting and thought provoking characters to make an ensemble with, and therefore a lot of the characters in Peter Jackson 2005's King Kong just feel very half baked.
I think that what you're missing in the subplots of the 2005 Kong movie is that Jimmy, as is introduced as, you know, when he was younger, he was feral, but as he's gotten older, Mr. Hayes has sort of tamed him. He has humanized him. He has been able to take this wild man and turn him into
I still
person.
wouldn't trust the kid.
And on top of that, this is what we call a literary device called foreshadowing. And this foreshadows Anne and Kong's relationship. And we see it echoed through Carl Denham as a beast who cannot be tamed, try as his associates might. And you have Jack Driscoll. He, in his own way, is sort of tamed by Anne, albeit mostly off screen. But he, in falling for Anne, he actually loses a bit of composure and comes out of his shell a little bit and has to become a bit of a beast in order to rescue her. So. Right. These are all these characters that I think echo each other very, very tastefully and sophisticatedly. And on top of that, Peter Jackson, this was a love letter, not just a love letter, but this was a passion project. He wanted to make King Kong before The Lord of the Rings. And it wasn't until after The Lord of the Rings he finally could make. He thought he was going to make King Kong. So to say that this is only the way it is because of The Lord of the Rings, I think is a little factually incorrect. But
I strongly disagree with that, sir. I really do. I feel like if it weren't for Lord of the Rings, he would not have had the creative control, and therefore I really don't think this movie would have been 3 hours long. And I got to be honest with you, I think it probably would have been a better movie if the studio had stepped in a little bit more and reined him in a little bit. I love Peter Jackson. I truly do, dude. I can't emphasize enough how much he influenced me back in the day. Like, I was one of the groundswell, Lord of the Rings fans when that saga came out. So trust me, I know the impact of Peter Jackson. But when you're talking King Kong, pictures, I really do think that Kong Skull Island doesn't get enough credit. It doesn't get the credit it deserves for really being something different, for really being something, really takes the Vietnam War and kind of puts it under a microscope. It really just kind of like thematically, just like, I don't know, it puts the King Kong character and the Vietnam War, kind of puts it into a blender almost. And it's not the most sophisticated movie in the world. It's not as ambitious as Peter Jackson's King Kong. Absolutely not. I'll agree to that right now. But I mean, I do think that at least in terms of originality and in terms of like dynamic set pieces and character arcs and everything like that, and even like how that movie bleeds into Godzilla versus Kong itself, I mean, I think it's a pretty damn solid entry.
I think that it's interesting to go back to the Heart of Darkness point you were making on King Kong. I think it's very funny that Apocalypse Now is also based on Heart of Darkness. So we both we have a sort of interesting sort of mirror here that in both of our picks. I think that when it comes to Kong Skull Island, you say that it's putting Kong in the Vietnam War. The problem is though that I don't see the parallels beyond there are natives who don't really know, who didn't ask, to have
Right.
bombs dropped on them. But beyond that, I don't really see what it has to say about the Vietnam War.
That's the
Beyond just,
futility of it. It's the fact that
well, you can say that for any war is futile, right?
the
Like, I
giant
don't know.
gorilla literally represents the futility of it. It's like, Peter, like Sam Jackson literally gets obsessed with taking down this giant gorilla that
But
he
that's,
knows he's not going to
Captain
win
Ahab.
against.
That's Captain Ahab. I don't see why
Right.
that makes it specific for the Vietnam War, though.
I mean, it is Captain Ahab. You're really right about that for sure. But I mean, I think just incorporating the Captain Ahab stuff into Sam Jackson, like I said, it's the very least. I mean, like I feel like Godzilla versus Kong unto itself as a movie was just like a total dearth of like good human characters. And so at the very least, I feel like with Marlowe and Packard, you really can't say that they didn't shine. Like you really can't say that the writers didn't go all out to make their characters at least interesting.
I think the issue with Kong Skull Island for me, pertaining to its characters, is that they spread them out into different subplots in a way that makes that it spreads its focus so thin that I don't really know what the focus of the movie is. Samuel L. Jackson's character disappears for a large percentage of that movie, only to really show up at the end. And then you have a whole subplot with Toby Kebbell, writing a letter to his son, and then he just dies. And then you have Shea Wiggum, who's going to sacrifice himself to save his friends, and then he just dies. And then you have all these.
I mean, I could make the
like
same exact point about people in King Kong 2005 having big subplots and then just die. I go back to Jimmy and Mr. Hayes, which I still think is like the weakest element of Peter Jackson King Kong, but that's a great example.
I already I was that's going back to, I was actually glad you drew that bridge, because I feel like the Mr. Hayes and Jimmy subplot is it connects to the other subplots insofar as it's representing the sort of taming and guidance, as a sort of father figure to Jimmy. Mr. Hayes.
Okay, I just want to point out how ridiculous it is, though, that like Jimmy has been built up as this, like completely like just unhinged spaz of a person.
Well, I don't think that's true.
And then you're meaning to tell me that after the death of his mentor, he's supposed to take up this gun and just like shoot all the bugs off of Jack Driscoll like it's nothing? Like he's just.
Oh, I disagree with you there, buddy, because
okay,
what happens in
I think that
scene
is fucking ridiculous. So
in that movie, we do not build up Jimmy as a crazy wild man. We are introduced to him as this is the way he used to be.
Yes.
This is his backstory. But that person is no longer there. He has become a new person. He has become educated. He has become more sophisticated. He has become
credit.
And when he is shooting the bugs off of Jack Driscoll, he's asking him to be still. It takes him a while to do it. Like you look over at Jack Black. I mean, he is like taking care of bugs very sufficiently and much more efficiently than Jimmy is. And Jimmy's not the man he used to be. He's become more refined and he has grown up.
And then he gets instantly killed off.
Yeah.
The king's spoken.
That thing is intimidating, Dragon.
Yep, that's kind of the idea.
All right.
All right, so that was a fun round, guys, but let me turn it over to the judges and see what their thoughts were. Dragon?
Well, I'll tell you, it was a little touch and go, but I think I heard. I think I'm gonna land voting for Conner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mickey fan?
You were both really good here.
Oh yeah.
I think I'm just gonna edge it out for Connor.
All right, fair enough.
Okay, not that it matters for me anyway. I think Connor did make the stronger argument overall, but
That's fair.
Tiki definitely did fight his ground, and it was, let's just say, gentlemen, this is an impressive first round for both of you.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
You know, just to get it in there is to help going forward, though. Tiki, one of the big reasons for Connor, you worshipped at the altar of 05 too much in that fight. I mean, the majority of your opening statement was, but I love 05. Just let me get that in there, and you barely spoke about Skull Island to like the last third of your opening statement.
All right, that's fair. That's totally fair.
This was more a conversation about the flaws of King Kong 05 than a debate between King Kong 05 and King Kong Skull Island.
Yeah.
Totally fair.
Yeah, like we really needed to hear more about Kong. I mean, you did repeat the Vietnam War aspect a lot without really going into it too
Elaborating.
deep. Yeah.
All right, and Atomic Beast says he still remembers the 2005 game, such an amazing experience. Yes, Peter Jackson's King Kong, the game is amazing. One of the best movie-based games ever.
Tiki, throw up Jedi Knight's comment about the other version.
The full title is Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official movie of the game.
Yeah, what about the 70s version? Can't say that with straight face. That's the thing.
So much hate for the 70s version. I don't get all the hate for
Can't say it's great, but you can't say it's not bad.
I'm just saying it's not as bad as everyone says.
Maybe I should have used this in my debate, but I feel like Skull Island is like kind of like rectifying the things that the 70s version did wrong.
Yeah.
All right.
I will say I will finally rewatch that movie when it drops on Blu-ray this May, thanks to Shout Factory.
Hey. Seriously, Shout Factory does nice work. Good for Shout Factory.
Yeah,
I love them.
Yeah, I've never actually seen the 70s version of King Kong myself.
It was on TV a lot, particularly around the time the 05 Kong movie came out.
Baker in a monkey suit. What's not to love?
When I watched it, I remember I was just bored out of my skull.
Oh, God.
All right.
Speaking of skulls, Skull Island is where King Kong resides.
All right.
Or Pharaoh Island in Godzilla in the original King Kong versus Godzilla.
Yeah, we're like to pretend that inaccuracy didn't happen. Anyway, so
all right, moving on. Now we're moving on to the Godzilla side of things.
Yeah.
In which case, the next question is: which kaiju should MonsterVerse Godzilla fight next? Sorry, I kind of tripped over my words there.
I noticed that. Yeah.
Okay. But the question is like,
it's okay. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. I mean, the original intention when I wrote the question was to include just Toho monsters, but when Tiki pitched the idea of using his idea, I was like, okay, I'll allow it. Basically.
Yeah, my idea is Cloverfield, buddy. Deal with it.
So it's like, so that's it, and it was specifically the MonsterVerse Godzilla. So all right, opening statement time. Opening statement time.
What's Connor's selection?
Yeah.
Oh, my selection is Gigan.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
All right.
Now, opening statement time. Tiki, Dazzles.
We've seen what Toho Kaiju monsters are like in this MonsterVerse. We've seen it. Been there, done that. I feel like Gigan, he's a cool creature. He's a cool design. I just don't think you can get anything like that really advances the story out of Gigan. With Cloverfield, though, I feel like you could really explode the MonsterVerse with Cloverfield by introducing the Cloverfield monster into the MonsterVerse. I honestly, guys, the root of my argument kind of lies in the fact that, like, I feel that with the Cloverfield monster as a main antagonist to a Godzilla movie, I feel like with that happening, you inherently get more interesting side characters, more interesting human characters. I do fully acknowledge that the Cloverfield monster is similar in design to the Mutos. I fully acknowledge that. But I still think it would work in the veins of like the Cloverfield monster being like this big government conspiracy that the government's been trying to tie up. And I really think it'd be interesting if they brought it into the actual Cloverfield verse and, you know, kind of brought in people like Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I'm not saying that it has to be this way, but I'd love to see a Godzilla found footage movie, which I think could do wonders in a Cloverfield versus Godzilla setup. I just want to see, at the end of the day, I want to see Godzilla return to kind of like the cataclysmic end of the world scenario that he's meant to be, and that he was advertised to be in Godzilla 2014. And I really feel like the only way to do that is to bring it back to a monster who also brought about similar end of the world anxiety, and that is Cloverfield.
I think that with the release of Godzilla vs. Kong, we finally got the best, well, not just the best North American Godzilla movie ever, but we also got a really great example of what you can do if you take a Showa era script and just pump millions and millions and millions of dollars into it. It is so goofy. It is so fun. It has a lot of creativity when it comes to the schlocky elements of it. And I think the next logical step is Aliens. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Aliens have been a staple of the Godzilla mythos for, well, honestly, since 1965. Since, Godzilla versus Monster Zero, a.k.a. Invasion of Astro Monster. Now, I know that Ghidorah himself is a space alien or a space monster, but we have not actually gotten an alien race invading Earth or us humans discovering an alien race. And so I think the prospect of Godzilla fighting Gigan in the next film brings a lot of narrative possibilities that I think the MonsterVerse could find very refreshing. I don't like, well, some of these MonsterVerse movies have not been too fond of. And I think that there's a little bit of a lack of creativity on what we can do with the humans because we kind of pigeonholed them into government facility or soldiers or what have you, researchers, scientists that just sort of get the monsters from place to place without having a fun little side quest of their own until you get to Godzilla versus Kong. And so I think that on top of Gigan just being one awesome design for a monster and just a great monster in general, it does offer possibilities not just for awesome monster action, but a new and maybe more exciting story we can do with wacky aliens. I am not opposed to Cloverfield. I think Cloverfield is a pretty solid American version of Godzilla, but I think that in this universe, the Cloverfield is a little irrelevant. And honestly, I kind of want to see Kong fight Cloverfield more than I want to see Godzilla fight Cloverfield.
Okay. All right. Well, my argument about using any sort of Toho villain is that I really do feel like
Mike.
Okay. I really do feel like with Godzilla versus Kong, they went strongly into the sci-fi territory with that movie. With all of the Hollow Earth stuff. And I honestly feel like the one of the hooks of the MonsterVerse in general was the realism going into Godzilla 2014. It looked like it was going to be a much more kind of like on ground level Godzilla movie, and Lord knows Gareth Edwards tried to make that movie like that, but it just kind of contained a little too little Godzilla. And I don't know, man. I just think like Gigan is definitely an interesting monster. It'd be interesting to see the extraterrestrial side of the MonsterVerse. Although you said yourself that Ghidorah is kind of in that same vein as well. I just think Cloverfield offers a lot of plot potential. That's my main argument for Cloverfield, because with Cloverfield, it comes with baggage, and it comes with good baggage. It comes with a baggage of like movies worth of like conspiracy theories and backstory regarding what the hell this monster could be. It comes with the baggage of like, okay, like now we have a monster that has definitely grown up in the atomic era and has very much thrived and grown larger and larger as it stayed alive. And I do think that's one of the highlights of the Cloverfield monster is the fact that it does get larger and larger. And that is absolutely one of the things that I think would separate it from the mutos of it all. Is the fact that to me it's very much as much of an abomination against nature as Godzilla is. But at least with Godzilla has some sort of a rhyme and reason to what he does. Whereas with the Cloverfield monster is just kind of like untapped chaotic energy. And frankly, I just don't think you get that sort of thematic richness with Gigan. I don't think you get that same sort of filmmaking possibilities with Gigan. With Gigan, I feel like you just get another monster movie with a monster that's like less marketable than Mothra and Ghidorah and Kong. With Cloverfield, you get something that may not be quite as marketable as Ghidorah, but definitely has its own fan base and definitely has its own lore to fall into. I feel like it would, like I said, like to me, I took this question as very much like, okay, what can I do to expand the MonsterVerse going forward? Like, what can I do to make the MonsterVerse move on and really keep going? And I feel like with Cloverfield very much opens the floodgates. Whereas I feel like Gigan kind of, it sort of limits the potential. It's sort of just like, okay, like now we're very much just limited to Toho Kaiju that Godzilla has not fought yet. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but we've pretty much done the best ones already. So that's why I'm very much in favor of going outside of the Toho lineup and really coming up with an original American creation that can push the plot forward.
Well, he just fought another American creation. It was called King Kong, and I think that we were starting a new Godzilla continuity, this would be a good direction to take with Cloverfield. However, I can't help but feel like Cloverfield is just too much of a blank slate. When it comes to those Cloverfield films, they represent more of dramas that have a monster happening in the background. Cloverfield is a disaster movie, but mostly it's a relationship drama about a guy trying to find his girl, and then buildings fall over, and that's cool. And then you have Cloverfield's a great movie. If anybody needs to revisit that, go ahead. It's really, really good. And then I think that 10 Cloverfield Lane is a really, really great locked room thriller. And then there are some monsters at the end. Oh, okay. And then you get to the Cloverfield Paradox, which is Baby's first multiversal story.
Cloverfield Paradox, I'm barely for the record.
Yeah, I mean, that movie is
I barely consider that a Cloverfield movie.
But I think that the Cloverfield Paradox does provide the evidence you were talking about a monster that just keeps growing as it gets older. But I think that what do you do narratively with that? Do you just make Godzilla and the Cloverfield monster fighting background noise to a?
I feel like story? It all has to do with conspiracy theories.
But that was all. That's what I saw was with Godzilla King of the Monsters, and I hated it. Is when when at the end we've had these humans fighting alongside the monsters the whole movie, and then at the end Kyle Chandler says it's about time we got involved. No, I don't want you involved, Kyle Chandler.
Okay, but what is the weakest part of the MonsterVerse movies? It is the human element. You've got to admit that. And so that is inherently my argument right there, is that by introducing Cloverfield, you introduce a more compelling reason for the humans to actively get involved. You introduce more dynamic human drama into the thing.
Oh, you see, that's the thing, though, is Godzilla vs. Kong cracked the code. They like the Showa era did decades ago. They realized, these humans,
I don't think Godzilla vs. Kong cracked the code when most people who see that movie totally agree that the Millie Bobby Brown side of that movie really could have been.
I don't care what most people are saying. I'm caring what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that they were functional. They had an entertaining enough plot to kill time, get monsters from A to B, and once the monsters were there to do their monster thing, they sat on the sidelines and went, "Wow!" in reaction shots. That's what they did. They cracked the code. That's what I want. And right now, the stage is set similarly to how the Hollow Earth had been seated in previous movies with, Kong Skull Island and Godzilla King of the Monsters. We just went whole hog into the Hollow Earth, and it was such a fun payoff. Now that we've had the stage set with Ghidorah, it only makes sense for maybe Gigan to be aware of his weird,
I just feel like with Gigan, if you're going down the Gigan road, I just fear that, like, really quickly, you're gonna run out of Toho Kaiju who have the same sort of star power as a Ghidorah or a Mecha Godzilla or something like that. And that's why I feel like the switch to a Cloverfield would be pivotal, because you still have the Kaiju of it all, but you go in a completely different direction with it, and it can open the door to new villains, new monsters. I'm not saying I never want to see a Toho monster again in this universe. Certainly not. I'm just saying, like, I really feel like the smart move for this franchise is to do something that's not just like, because let's face it, it's hard. It's going to be hard to live up to Kong. No matter what they do next, the opponent is going to be hard to live up to Kong. So what do you want, Connor? Do you want a B-grade Toho villain, or do you want arguably the most iconic American movie monster of the past 20 years?
I want new A-listers to be made every day. Give me a Hollow Earth Kong sequel where he fights King Caesar, baby. Give me a Mega Gyrus who's going to show up to fight Godzilla down the line.
Oh, God.
Give me Anguirus got to show up eventually. Maybe not as as maybe like a B-lister. Godzilla can fight him for a second, then team up later. All I'm saying is there are plenty of wonderful kaiju in the Toho lineup that a lot of people just don't know about it. And putting them in these movies, well, with you have the headliner of Godzilla.
People don't know about the kaiju in Toho movies, but people do know about Cloverfield. That's for damn sure.
What they know about Cloverfield is a legacy of disappointment. After Cloverfield came out, we got 10 Cloverfield Lane, which was great. But everybody,
I feel like universally 10 Cloverfield Lane is like acknowledged as the best Cloverfield movie, which is rare for a movie as gimmicky as Cloverfield for the sequel to be even better.
And it's probably just as universally agreed upon that the monsters were the worst part of that movie. Once they leave that bunker, nobody cares. And then when we get to the Cloverfield paradox, that movie is just kind of like a fart in the wind that everybody just kind of wants to forget about. And when they made Overlord, any Cloverfield connection that they initially had planned,
I forgot that Overlord was even connected to Cloverfield.
Yeah, they wanted that was the original plan. So right now, the Cloverfield legacy is one of disappointment and unfulfilled promises. So I think that the time to do a Cloverfield sequel would have been as a sequel to the 2014 Godzilla movie before 10 Cloverfield Lane even came out.
I still think that 10 Cloverfield Lane gave the franchise enough credibility to where if the monster did come back, people would legitimately be excited about it. It's not every horror franchise that has a sequel that's legitimately better than the original. That's a rare thing to pull off. And I feel like that does give the Cloverfield franchise some legs to stand on, even if future films had not been as good.
I just think that when it comes to the monster aspect of being a monster sequel, the Cloverfield films don't really... When people think 10 Cloverfield Lane, they think John Goodman, Mary Elizabeth Winstead was really solid, and then they don't...
And when people think of the MonsterVerse movies, they think shit cookie cutter human characters, and I want to give the MonsterVerse some super compelling characters.
Those characters were liked because of the situation they were in, a situation which, quite frankly, didn't really have a lot to do with the monsters. You could say they're in their bunker because of some emergency, but the emergency is just incidental. It can be whatever. It doesn't need to be a monster out there.
No, but what I'm saying is that by introducing Cloverfield, you introduce a whole new perspective into the Godzilla verse, into the MonsterVerse. You introduce a more ground eye level that was even in the Gareth Edwards version of Godzilla, but you introduce an eye level version that isn't going to cut away every 5 minutes, that isn't going to use cheap tactics.
And how are they going to be involved in the monster action without being military men, scientists, etc.?
I mean, let's be honest. They probably would be military men. They probably would be military men going after the Cloverfield monster. But I don't know. I think that is compelling unto itself in terms of, Cloverfield has been around canonically since 2008. The damn thing is like over 10 years old at this point. So I do think it'd be an interesting battle. I certainly think it'd be a more interesting battle to take down something like that than to take down just another random kaiju that comes out of the hollow earth.
Well, I feel like what you're talking about, like, just because it has a Cloverfield name on it does not inherently mean it's going to have interesting characters. The original Cloverfield just kind of has normal people that you care about because of the situation they are in, and I don't really see on
everyone cares about TJ Miller's cameraman.
Oh yeah.
I'm just kidding,
for
but
beer
no,
bottles,
seriously.
No, I just think though that just because it has the word Cloverfield on it does not inherently mean it's going to have interesting characters, and just because it has the word Godzilla on it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to have uninteresting characters. Even though up until this point that's kind of been the name of the game with these Godzilla movies. But I just think that saying because it has the word Cloverfield on it means that we're going to have more interesting characters is a bit of a fallacy.
I'm not saying that because it has the name Cloverfield on it, we're going to have interesting characters. I'm saying because of the legacy of Cloverfield, because the baggage of Cloverfield, because what Cloverfield represents for the actual plot of the movie. That's why we're going to have interesting characters.
All right then. That was an intense round, guys.
Yeah, it was.
a lot of back and forth.
Indeed.
All right. Hey, Mickey fan, where are you leaning on this?
Oh, I think. I was going back and forth this entire round, but I think in the end I have to give it to Conner.
Oh.
All right, let's see. In all honesty, I didn't hear a lot of knocks against Gigan, so I'm gonna have to go with Conner as well. Dragon, for posterity's sake, who would you go with?
Well, I'll tell you, it was quite the adventure. And by the way, just for what I would have picked, because it was mentioned in the comments as well, Jedi Knight threw a couple monsters out there. Like, I would have gone Gamera personally, because I've always wanted to see Gamera in one of these MonsterVerse films. But that's just me. Especially at the end of King of All Monsters, hoping Gamera was going to show up, and he didn't. But
I think the main problem there is he's not owned by Toho.
I know. That's logistics. I understand. It's just it would have been cool, though. Okay, no, but here's the thing. What I heard when Tiki picked Cloverfield, I mean, in my heart of hearts, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But in all fairness, Tiki legitimately sold me on it in his argument. His argument was really well found in terms of like the whole found footage angle and basically the plot potential, all that sort of stuff. But then as it went on, I think Conner picked up momentum, picked up steam, because I mean, one, Gigan aesthetically has a lot going for him. Conner didn't quite lean on that. Kind of leaned on more of the show era stuff, which was a good call. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, there's a lot of things you could have touched on too, D. Like, it'd be kind of hard to take a monster like that and make him serious in this modern universe.
I will say though, Conner, just to kind of be aware of it. I mean, what I kind of noticed in this fight is I think you kind of play both sides of the human angle. I think you were kind of like, yeah, the humans are fine. To know the humans would hurt the film in regards to arguing against Cloverfield and bolstering essentially the MonsterVerse's use of the humans. I think you kind of play both sides of that. But I mean, that's an approach. I won't fault you for. I don't know. It wouldn't be my approach.
Just to put my 2 cents in, one, Atomic Beast is right when he says Ultraman. That's what I would have chosen.
Ultraman.
Yes. And 2, like, I don't go to watch a Godzilla movie for the human characters. I go to watch for the big lizard.
Yeah, but ultimately, Connor just I think was on fire with his points about how the Cloverfield franchise, in essence, kind of tanked as it went on at a certain point, and basically it's too late to kind of like build the momentum after the 2014 Godzilla and like the whole they'd have to be military guys. He's very on fire with his points, and in that regard, I'm also voting Connor. So it's another clean sweep for Conner Nielson. Conner Nielson's on fire this
Yeah,
debate, man.
nice. Not bad for newcomer.
Yeah,
And
new blood.
and considering something Tiki said, a sequel to a horror film that's better is Aliens.
Yeah, that's true.
Aliens is better than the first Alien. Fight me.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, now we just need our images back.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
1 second. No, it's all good.
All right, main event time. And this is kind of self-explanatory, but this next title is basically the headliner for this entire debate. What is the biggest highlight of Godzilla versus Kong?
All right. I've got round one, the round where they're all on the bodies of water and kind of scrambling between battleships.
And I'm going for round two in the first fight in Hong Kong between Godzilla and Kong.
All right. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, wouldn't you know it that we both choose like fights that involve Godzilla versus Kong in like the Godzilla versus Kong debate, but seriously, I really do think that that round one, the round that kind of gives the film some momentum but doesn't necessarily drive the story in any way. I do think in terms of like matching up the characters in the appropriate kind of way, where Kong's got the physical advantage, but Godzilla definitely has the advantage in terms of like he is way better in the water. I mean, I think this fight is just spectacular. I really do. And one of the big things that I like about this fight that I really think that round two just kind of like way overindulges in is that this fight does not have a lot of collateral damage, whereas round two has like Zack Snyder levels of collateral damage. And so I really dig how round one with the battleships, like we really know the context for the size, the scale is absolutely on point. We see the impact of each fucking movement of these characters as they move from battleship to battleship. We see the impact of them on the human characters. They're struggling to stay afloat. I just think that once we reach Hong Kong, the movie kind of zooms out just a little bit too much outside of the human angle, and we're left with just kind of like a very big kind of like cinematic blockbuster fight scene that doesn't necessarily have some of the thoughtful choreography that was in play in the opening match.
I think that all the action in this movie when it comes to the monsters is dynamite. You're not going to hear me complain about any of that when it comes to Godzilla versus Kong or even the first fight. But I think that when it comes to the narrative and how you choose to implement a fight scene into the rising action, I think that by design, the fight on the aircraft carriers is really good. It's also supposed to tease you, leaving just a little bit more, leave you wanting just a little bit more. That's just, I think, Adam Wingard doing a good job of raising the stakes. So by the time we get to Hong Kong, your anticipation and and the bar for what you're expecting is higher, and I think it is absolutely delivered. Now, I am a hashtag Team Godzilla guy through and through, but this fight had me legitimately thinking Kong was gonna win. They get so creative. Now, there's creativity in the fights all over this movie. I mean, Kong throwing the fighter jet, gold, absolutely gold. But with this, you get to have the biggest buildings in the world. What do we all want to see Kong do? We want to see Kong climb up buildings, right? And he is climbing up all the buildings. He is using the city as like a jungle gym as a tool to fight Godzilla. He is throwing his axe into buildings, hitting some combos, pulling the axe back out. Godzilla throws the axe at him with his mouth. They both get some really, really good licks in. And on top of that, you think about, Godzilla, whenever you bring up the, who'd win in a fight, Godzilla or Kong, people will say, well, Godzilla, because the atomic breath he's got. Well, King Kong, to quote the 1963 American version of King Kong versus Godzilla, Kong's a thinking animal. All right. And so he is really using the advantage. He's aware of his limitations. And on top of that, you know what? In a Superman movie, I care about collateral damage. In a monster movie, oh, I care about it because I want it. Give it to me. Yes. You see these buildings get toppled down in just the most satisfying of ways. Oh, people die. Whatever. It's a kaiju movie. I really don't care. I know
All
that
right,
makes me
that's
sound
fair.
heartless,
That's fair.
but I don't. When it comes to this, they're animals. They're not Superman. They're animals. And they have a vague awareness of what's going on. But honestly, do you care about the ant under your foot? Because I don't, and neither should Kong, unless it's that one really special ant who's a girl. So,
All right.
I will say that's
Well,
my piece.
Connor, I will argue you that I do feel like King of the Monsters did a better job in terms of like once that city is leveled in King of the Monsters, we acknowledge that that city is leveled. Like we acknowledge that city is pretty fucked. With Godzilla versus Kong, not so much. It's more so kind of play like we kind of play fast and loose with the realism, which as much as I like Godzilla versus Kong, that's kind of where the movie falters for me in terms of like we are really kind of throwing our hands up and kind of giving up on the gritty realism of the 2014 film by this point. And to me, I feel like my scene definitely has more gritty realism in it. At least in terms of like, it's compact, it's small. It's not the main fight of the film, but I do feel like it serves an essential purpose, not just in the fact that like, all right, pacing wise, we got to get these two together before the third act, unlike Batman v Superman, so that we can actually have a satisfying build up. But I also think that I really do think that it showcases the strengths and weaknesses of the two very well. It showcases Kong's pure raw physical prowess, but it also showcases Godzilla's agility and Godzilla's upper hand in the water setting. So I really do think that, and we do get the collateral damage with the boats, but the best thing about it is that like the collateral damage is tangible. It's like when I see Kong and Godzilla like tearing themselves into like full city blocks worth of skyscrapers and stuff like that. I mean, I'm sorry, but in a post Man of Steel world, I am thinking about the collateral damage that's happening. I really am. I would partly blame the internet for that for sure, but still, it is something that's on my mind. And whereas I do feel like that with the opening battle, we get a lot more of just kind of like the primal, like, all right, like I don't like you, you don't like me, you stand in my way, you have to go down. I feel like the second fight was almost more of a formality just to get to the third fight. Whereas I feel like the first fight stands a little bit more on its own in terms of delivering a memorable set piece that you really can't compare to another Godzilla kaiju fight or round three of the movie. I feel like Godzilla versus Kong in the with the battleships is fresh. It's something we haven't seen before, and I definitely think it's a highlight.
And I think that when it comes to uniqueness, I think you're absolutely right. The first fight definitely has the edge there. We always hear about Kong getting brought over on a boat, but we never really see it. and we get to see Kong on the boat in chains, but then we also know that that's the territory of Godzilla. Godzilla really gets the advantage with the water and all that, and that's all great. That being said, it's shorter, and more percentage of that fight is allocated to, well, how are the humans doing in this?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, hey, different strokes for different folks, I guess. But I mean, I care about these humans and how they're going to survive more than I care about Kyle Chandler and Vera Farmiga. But that being said, I don't care about them more than seeing all of the fight. In that second round, there is almost no human engagement whatsoever, and I think that's just delightful. And it's also longer. And I think that when it does come to that fight, let's be real here. Godzilla blows a hole to the hollow earth with his fire, and King Kong climbs up through that. You're right. There is less of a realism going on here, but honestly, I think that makes it able to get away with a lot more.
But the whole thing that the MonsterVerse was sold on from day one was the realism, though. That was the thing that differentiated this from the Toho Godzillas or from Godzilla 98 was the realism factor.
I would say that that's only how they sold, or that was the angle for the 2014 film. You see, like what I like about all of these MonsterVerse movies, even the ones I don't particularly care for, is that they all four of them have their own distinct identities. Gareth Edwards is very much, a post Christopher Nolan filmmaker, but Jordan Vogt-Roberts is not giving a crap about the realism in Kong Skull Island. And the King of the Monsters did its own thing, and this is doing its own thing. And I think that with that, it is Adam Wingard is a lot sillier in his tone than the other films have been, and I think the way he embraces that silliness makes the fighting a lot more satisfying.
I still think the scale of the battleships, though, is a lot more satisfying, because when you get into the big city, when you get into all the neon, I feel like the scale is it's good, but it's less tangible. Whereas with the battleships and the scale, you know exactly how big these creatures are and exactly what they're going after and exactly what humans are on the line. When you zoom it out to the big city battle, it kind of loses that personal touch. It kind of loses those personal stakes just a little bit. At least that's my perspective.
I think that the scale is a lot more apparent in that first one. I would agree with you, but I also think that the creativity is a little bit hindered. Now, Kong jumping across the battleships, awesome. Like I said, throwing a jet, great. But I mean, it's got nothing on some of the ways Kong gets some licks in on Godzilla when it comes to jumping around the buildings, basically using it as a jungle gym. It is the monster fight of my 8-year-old dreams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like I said, I really do feel like this argument kind of comes down to realism versus spectacle. Your fight definitely has more spectacle, but I feel like my fight is a lot more tangible. It's a lot more grounded. I feel like in some ways it's more personal.
Sorry. There's a pause. I thought you guys were both done.
All right.
But it's too late now.
Don't apologize. That's as much time as they get.
Hey, what can I say? I'm an apologetic kind of guy.
Sure.
But I'm going to deliberate on my own point. Honestly, I think you guys both did highlight very important elements of your fight, but honestly, I like the whole realism versus spectacle angle. I mean, let's face it, in my personal opinion, realism is kind of thrown out the window when you have a giant lizard and a giant ape fighting each other. So that's just my 2 cents. But overall, I think Tiki argued his point stronger. I mean, even Conner even praised it himself a few times. I think he raised stronger elements, like raising the humanity, basically the creativity of the fight itself, having it having been something we haven't seen before, like these two titans fighting on the water versus some fight in the city. And I think overall he got in more licks against Conner than Conner did against him. So my vote this time is for Tiki. Dragon? Oh, Mickey Finn, I guess you can go next.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I agree with you, Tiki.
Yeah, well, not that it counts, but I'll just say it anyway. Yeah, honestly, it was Conner. I felt maybe double backed on his on his main argument towards the end there again, where he's just pretty much just kind of doubling down how he opened. So, it was both arguments were strong, but I'm leaning towards Tiki myself. And again, my vote doesn't count for much anyway, so take it for what you will. Tiki got a clean sweep, so yay for him. All right, so.
That means sweeps.
Yeah, so let's see. Connor's got 2 on the board right now. Tiki's got 1, and we're at the end of 3 rounds.
Okay.
Yes. And it's so basically, but it's kind of funny to point out that all 3 rounds have been pretty much clean sweeps so far.
Yeah.
So, all right, time to move on to the King Coin.
Yes, we can ditch the banner, but yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, what this is, so Tiki gets the option to flip the King Coin to either gain a point if it lands on heads, or if it's tails, obviously he loses 1. So Tiki, you gonna gamble?
Now, for the record, we still have a bonus coin that's out there, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go ahead and flip it.
All right. This is the
So-
fun part of the show, Connor.
Oh, I feel like my life is in the hands of somebody else.
Ah, damn.
Ah.
That means Tiki is no longer on the board right now. So
All right.
Connor's got 2 points. It's 2-0. Connor, do you feel lucky? You don't have to flip it, but you're
I
welcome
like where
to.
I am right now.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right. So, Jacob, have we found anything yet?
Let me see here. No, it's one of King Kong's hairs.
Okay. So not yes. Anyway, so that brings us to the speed round then, and we have some audience questions. Go on, Jacob. Tell about the stuff.
Like go to the speedrun questions or just
Well, tell him how Connor doesn't know how the speed round works.
All right.
Necessarily. I mean, he knows it, but let's just remind him and remind the folks at home. So.
All right. How this works is that we ask you a question, and obviously this is a question you haven't prepared for. But what you do is like when we ask you the question, you and Tiki give your answers, and whoever speaks first goes first. There's no set order like it was in the main rounds. You have a 30-second opening statement and a 15-second rebuttal statement. And
Right.
and again, the first one to 5 will be declared the winner. Keep in mind though that some people have crawled back from nothing and then won through the speed round.
Tiki could still win this, Connor. It's entirely possible.
All right.
Don't rest on your laurels too much, boyo.
I mean, I've been completely dominated in the main rounds, and I've ended up winning the round because of this. So,
You understand, Connor? 30-second, 15-second rebuttal, right?
Yes.
Good. Okay.
Okay. So, Dragon, is there any audience questions you want to highlight first, or do you?
I mean, it's your call. We have audience questions. Would you like to start there, or go with one of the other questions?
Hey, let me peruse those questions. Okay, I think we can highlight one of our resident fans, occasional collaborator, Claudie's here.
All right.
All right. I think what MonsterVerse movie would make for the best TV series?
Ooh. Okay. I'm gonna go with Kong Skull Island.
I'm gonna say. Does it have to be an existing MonsterVerse movie?
Looks like it.
Okay.
Preferably.
Okay. Yeah. Then I guess I'll also go with Kong Skull Island.
But you can't go with
No,
the same
you can't
thing.
go with the
Oh,
same
man.
answer.
No,
Yeah.
it's not gonna be interesting at all.
I didn't say that, but implying it, I thought it'd be kind of obvious.
Okay.
First come, first serve.
Fine. I'll say Godzilla 2014.
Right.
He said with such enthusiasm.
Well, keep in mind, it is the strength of the argument, so you can still win.
Exactly.
Right.
So don't throw in the towel.
Yeah, all right, Tiki, 30
Yep.
seconds.
So as I already established, I think that Kong Skull. Oh, hold on. 1 second. Uno memento. Let me get to the stopwatch.
So good.
All right. So as I think I already established, Kong Skull Island is like one of the few MonsterVerse movies to actually have some compelling characters. And that's a start. But the other thing is the fact that Skull Island just in itself is like a very unexplored part of the MonsterVerse in general, and there's a lot of things you can do about that. We saw Kong's family hinted at Godzilla versus Kong. Maybe do some flashbacks. I don't know. A lot of potential there.
There we go. All right, Connor, your turn. 30 seconds.
All right. When it comes to Godzilla, what I think works about the 2014 premise more than the other films is that you don't need to be pigeonholed to a specific character or a specific time. You can just keep going with different groups of characters or ensembles or singular characters as they fight Godzilla season to season or aid Godzilla season to season. Done.
All right. But I don't think that'd work for a show, because I feel like with a show, people are inherently looking for characters that they connect to and relate to. And I feel like with Skull Island, is it hard to do a John Marlowe character? Yes, but okay, go ahead.
I think that when it comes to Skull Island, you're sort of limited the way Lost might have been limited after a few seasons. I think if you want to do a Kong show, you might actually want to do a Hollow Earth Kong show, but that's not been a movie yet. So, time.
All right, Claudia, remember, you're going to call this round, okay? So you're gonna basically vote on who won, and that'll basically give them the point. So while we're waiting on that, let's see. While we're waiting on that, Connor, is there anything you wanted to plug while you're here?
I'm on Letterboxd, LetterBoxd.com. I have reviewed all of the MonsterVerse movies, I think, on there. So if you're interested, check it out. Although my Kong Skull Island review is way too long, I wrote that when I first started on that site. So yeah, it's just my name, Connor with an E, and then Nielsen. And those Danish people like spelling their names funny, don't they? So.
All right.
Yeah, Tiki would know that recently. He's been really big into the kind of the Dane film industry lately.
Well, I've been really into Thomas Finterberg. Yes.
All right, Claude, we're waiting on your answer here.
Again, Claude, we're going to give you about a minute here. If we don't hear back from you, we're going to have to make the call ourselves, so it's probably going to be unsatisfying.
But I have finished watching all of Sex and the City and the films, so I am currently
aren't there two Sex and the City movies?
Incredibly, yes.
There are.
I can't believe I actually know that.
I know more than I'd like to know about Sex and the City, but hey, Claudia, the votes come in. So Claudia says, Tiki!
All right. It's all being able to connect the characters. Yeah, I hear you.
Tiki's back on the board, 2-1. Jacob, what's next?
Actually,
wait, Jacob, do we have the hidden coin?
Good question.
I was leading to that. While they were debating, I was looking around and actually found the silver dollar hidden within my pockets.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it again. Hopefully, my luck turns out better this time.
No, we only offered to the winner, so unfortunately, Connor, no option for you this time, buddy boy.
And remember, it does have something within it.
Something strange and mystical.
So if I get a tails, Connor gets the point, right?
We don't know. You have to flip it to find out.
dear
We'll
God.
see.
Okay, fine.
What else might happen?
Heads.
So now it's 2-2, and yes, he would have lost the point to Connor.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the point would have basically, so Connor would have, if he got tails, it would have gone to you. That's what.
Gotcha.
But no such luck.
So fortunately, we didn't have to do that. And now it's a tie game.
Yes.
All right.
It's all tied up.
All right. So what do you think we should go next for, Dragon?
Well, I mean, we have a wheel. It's either a wheel or another audience question, or wherever you fancy. So we got ways to go here. We gotta.
All right. All right. Let's do the wheel.
Okay, going to the wheel of Titans.
And you're stuck with whoever you get.
Yes,
All
on
right.
this wheel are the Titans that we have seen in the MonsterVerse films up to this point.
And Tiki,
Fighting Godzilla specifically.
yes, minus Godzilla, yes.
Yeah.
These guys don't know what the question is, so we're going to spin, and we're going to be assigned. They're going to be assigned a monster, and then we're going to reveal what the question is.
All right,
And
am I first?
You can choose to go first, or you can.
Would you
choose
like to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
All right.
Let's see, and Tiki's going to get Ghidorah.
Ooh, guitar, nice.
Ghidorah. All right.
And then
Oh wait, hold on. I need to erase Ghidorah. Hold on. So Ghidorah is going to be off play. Wheel changes. Sorry. All right. So yeah, this is Connor's spin.
okay.
All right, Connor, stay frosty. You're going to get assigned a monster.
Rodan.
Yes.
Nielsen's got Rodan.
Yes.
Ooh, nice. Ghidorah versus Rodan.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, which leads us to the question: which monster do you mechanize next?
Oh, easy. Okay, I got this. All right. Ghidorah has 3 heads. I mean, come on now. Come on, 3 heads is better than 1. He is literally the king of the monsters. He's the god of the monsters. I don't even know why this is a debate. Rodan is cool only for historical value in that he's one of the first Toho villains that Godzilla fought. But Ghidorah has all of the actual momentum and weight behind him to actually make a fantastic mecha.
Okay, let me get this out of the way. Rodan is a badass. Ghidorah's an asshole. All right. So, second of all, we've never seen a mecha Rodan. Imagine how awesome that would be. Not only would he have wings that are mechanized that he could create storms with, he could also probably have a jetpack. How fast could he go? There's the possibilities are endless. Retractable spikes on his belly, claws that can shoot out, laser beams out of his eyes. Come on, this is amazing and uncharted waters. Mecha Rodan, easy.
All right, you know what your argument sounds like, Connor? It sounds like a lot of excuses for why Rodan just inherently on his own is not as cool as Ghidorah. And I feel like if Ghidorah is cooler than Rodan, he's definitely going to be cooler in Mecha.
Okay, see what you're missing though is that Mecha Ghidorah is sort of inebriating Ghidorah. He has telepathy between his minds, but once you kill some of his heads, what does that do? You're basically hindering an already perfect monster. You're not really enhancing it at all.
Interesting. Though I will leave this one. I'll leave this one to Dragon.
Of course, just sidle it to me. But okay, all right. I guess this is a tricky one. Okay, so
I'm trying to increase variety here.
I know I'm aware. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna go with Connor.
All right.
Yes.
Connor's got 3 on the board right now.
I not that my point counts here. I agree with Tiki on. I mean, Dragon on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Jacob, why don't we go with the question that... See, Claudia is throwing a question at us, but... wait, hold. Was it Claudia? Or earlier?
Yeah.
The one that we already kind of have ourselves. Let's use that one next.
Okay, I think I know it. I think I know which one you're going for.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Claudia.
But the question we have is, between Godzilla and Kong, who would make a better addition to the Toon Squad?
Yeah!
Okay, hold on. Where is this?
No, it's one of our questions.
Yeah, it's just... Well, yeah,
Oh,
Claudia,
it's one
like
of
that.
our... Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Claude just
define the Toon Squad. The Toon Squad is in, like, the Space Jam Toon Squad.
Yes, in lieu of the Space Jam: A New Legacy trailer. Yes. So who?
Well, I
would
mean,
that-
Kong's already in there, so I gotta go Kong, I guess. I don't know.
I'm gonna go with Godzilla.
All right. So for the record, oh, hold on. Okay. So for the record, I fucking hate that they've gone all Ready Player One with this new Space Jam movie. I think it's ridiculous. But you know what? If we got to get one person in there, get Kong, because Kong is absolutely like, he is the icon of blockbuster movies. He's already represented in Ready Player One. I feel like he's ready to go. I feel like, just throw him in there. You know what he's gonna get. I feel like he's more of a team player than Godzilla. Kong also.
Okay, so check your racism there, Tiki. All right, but on top of all of that, what we have here is Godzilla took on Charles Barkley. Like, come on, he did it. Like, and so while Kong might win Rookie of the Year, and that's cute and all, might make starting players. Godzilla, he has experience. All right. Anyways.
Hold on 1 second. So basically, you're suggesting that Godzilla is on the Monstars against the main character, whereas the question itself was which monster should join the Toon Squad. So your argument is absolutely illegitimate, sir.
I don't see how my argument is illegitimate if they're both monsters. If that's your qualification, no, he's played pickup with NBA stars before. He knows the lingo. That's his thing. Kong, he's just got no experience.
This is quite an interesting one.
Oh yeah.
This is kind of like this is kind of what I was hoping for with this kind of question. But in all honesty, I think I'm gonna have to go with Tiggy on this one.
Woo!
All right, 3-3.
All right.
I will say I like Jedi Knight's comment where he says Kong would be better offense, Godzilla would be better defense. That's
Yeah,
that is
absolutely true.
It would be good on the same team, honestly, but
yeah.
that was the point of the question.
All right.
All right. I think this will be an interesting one. Considering the connection this film has to HBO Max, which Sesame Street character do you cast in Godzilla vs. Kong in the place of Mechagodzilla?
Sesame Street. Big Bird.
But it's got to be a monster, though.
Monster.
Sesame Street monster.
I mean, Big Bird.
I'm going to go with Cookie Monster.
Basically, this is our obligatory Muppet question, but it's Muppet adjacent.
Fair enough. Okay, so I'll go first. You know what? Y'all might think that Big Bird's not a monster, but I digress. He's totally like a a mutated freak of nature, but I feel like in the Mothra vein, he's kind of like a freak of nature with a heart of gold. I feel like he could get to the Titans in a way that no one else, including the random deaf girl, could. I really feel like Big Bird would kind of be the heart and soul of the movie in a certain extent.
See, I feel like if we're putting him in the place of Mechagodzilla, that Cookie Monster makes more sense because he's not really in charge of his own faculties. His hunger controls him, and similarly, that's how he would be better implemented. I think that Big Bird's just too affluent. Time.
Right? I just feel like Cookie Monster is too chaotic. It's like you let him out, and it's like that fight is not going to get solved. It's literally just going to go into like the absurdity of like, oh, want a cookie? And it's like, no, it's like with Big Bird is going to have the skills to resolve this complication.
I think you're underestimating Hanger's strength there, man. Because when you're hungry, you will fight. And I think Cookie Monster has, he's got some seriously good fat to muscle ratio under that fur. And I just don't think Big Bird has that beyond
This is a fun one. But I'll leave that to Mickey Fan.
Connor had me sold the second he said Cookie Monster. So I'm giving it to Connor.
All right, 4-3. If Connor wins the next round, then it's the end of the game.
Yeah.
So the pressure's on.
All right, Tiki, this is where I choke. I want to congratulate you now.
Jacob, we should go with one of Jedi Knight's questions. Look for a good Jedi Knight question.
Okay, let's see. I'm not seeing any Jedi Knight questions.
Yeah, well, there's one like at the 12:34 mark and beyond.
Okay, now I see. Never mind.
Yeah.
What evil kaiju would you redeem?
Ooh. Evil kaiju.
Do they need to be in the MonsterVerse movies?
No, it's broad. Just what evil kaiju.
Mechagodzilla.
I am going to go with Megalon.
All right. Okay. So I think Mechagodzilla is honestly like a good concept in theory. It's like we saw a whole like franchise of movies in which the whole idea of like doing a giant robot and putting him up against giant monsters like absolutely is a legitimate way to go about it. The only problem with Mechagodzilla is that they tried to connect it to Ghidorah, and therefore it kind of like got an ego and went crazy. But just don't connect the giant robot to Ghidorah. Giant robot is a good idea.
So Megalon is a person who just wants to serve. He was kind of controlled by the people of Seatopia, and maybe was mind controlled by the Stonehenge heads. But I think that were you to break that conditioning, you could really warm the hearts of Bucky fans all over the world with mind controlled people. And I think that Megalon, he could really do some good with his drill arms and the insect features. There's a whole heart underneath there, I think.
At the end of the day, though, it's still just another Toho monster. And I feel like with Mechagodzilla, if you did reform him, it would have way more ramifications on the actual real building and plot of the MonsterVerse than the other one.
But that's the thing. Mechagodzilla can just be programmed to do whatever. There's not really any reform going on there. Time.
Old strategy.
All right, Jedi Knight, you're gonna call this, buddy. So call it
God.
soon, so we can know where we're at here.
Yeah, hopefully he's still online.
Yes, hopefully. Well, I mean, he's weighing in on the Sesame Street thing, so assumedly.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay,
Give that a minute and see. Again, the whole round could be in Jedi Knight's hands.
sure.
Yeah, he suggested Snuffleupagus.
Yes.
Godzilla and Kong versus Snuffleupagus.
I might have gone with Telly, by the way, just to kind of shake it up.
We got everything to see him fight Oscar.
I mean, I think the problem with Sesame Street monsters in general is very simple. Dragon, they're too nice.
But that's the challenge. I'm saying, like, as a reveal monster, as in, like, hey, instead of Mecha Godzilla appear, and it's like, oh my god, it's like a giant version of Cookie Monster or Telly or something. I don't know. Okay, the vote is in. Jedi Knight is going with Megalon,
and that means Conner wins.
Hey!
Right.
Woo! Yeah.
Congrats,
Conner. You won
Connor.
him over with the programming argument.
Yes. And
That was a lot of fun. I want to give a big handshake to Tiki for being a great debater. That was a lot of fun.
I tried to keep you on your toes.
And you definitely did.
He tripped over a building.
When we were talking about the highlights of the fight, I was like, darn, I got nothing up my sleeve right now.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I thought, just like the movie, I think it's time for these two titans to part their ways. But I think it was an interesting fight all around, gentlemen. Thank you all for coming here this evening, and also to my co-judges, Mickey Fan and Blue Dragon 5, as always.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Always happy to be here.
So until next time, bye.
Let them fight.
Yes.
Let them fight.